Hello.
Hello.
So it's 28th of the 4th, 2020, and we're just talking about our Armies on Parade again. So this week, because it's only been a week, we're not going to do much of an update. We'll give a brief overview of anything we've done, but we wanted to talk about the armies that we were going to do and kind of like the fluff, how we see our armies, why this board, talk about maybe our paint schemes or any modding that we've done, the kind of vibe of it, because we're both, I think, quite into that part of the hobby, making the armies and the models we want for the stories we want rather than just playing to the meta all the time. I think that's fair. Yeah. Okay, so I'll start with my Death Guard nurse. If I didn't mention it last time, I'm doing a base for Death Guard, who were nicknamed the Death Gardeners by a friend of ours, and I thought that's very good, so I'm going to steal it. And that theme's kind of carried on. So they are about infecting worlds, infecting everything they can, and turning it into Papa Nurgle's gardens, and spreading the joy that is that infection and pestilence and rot and all that. So I wanted to do a garden. As I mentioned before, it's based on Hanbury Hall, National Trust property near ourselves, and just showing the beginning of the decay as they take over this location on this unknown world. Color scheme doesn't bear on that. It's just a nice simple blue. Bobo, when he got me back into painting, gave me some contrast paints, and I really like this blue on a Poxwalker I did. So it became the main blue for my guys. I can't remember the name of it.
It is. I'm just going to grab it.
Green.
Alien green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess technically, contrasted Keelian green. So I guess technically they're in green, but it looks blue.
It's the. I was chatting to Ben Prager last year, who runs the hobby products team. So like the guys who make the paint, and he was the one who picked the name Achillean Green.
Yeah.
Which seemed to tickle him, so I think he's very aware that it is a blue.
Yeah.
But then he's the guy who decides that how the the new dice should have nothing resembling numbers on them and things like that. So I think he has fun.
Yeah, a gentleman with a sense of humour about the universe of this hobby, the world where, let's be honest, a lot of things don't make a lot of sense in this game, in this hobby. So why should the hobbying side outside of the fantasy and the fluff make any more sense? I'm fine with it. I love the color. Like I say, I'll put some pictures on and throw up my Instagram on here, but they're very, very grim dark. So they're base coated in black, and then they get a zenithal, but it's a rattle can, and it's intentionally kind of splodgy and spotty to give them a really uneven, fetid look. For my Space Marines, I try and give a much more uniform coat. The same, black underneath, going to grey and then a nice white from the top, keeping it simple at just those three colours. But it's intentionally given a splodgy kind of thing, which on the materials looks good, on the metal gives it this weathered effect straight away. So yeah, for my Space Marines, I would use an airbrush. For these guys, it's all rattle can, just to get a splodgy kind of effect, which I really like, and have continued on the smaller models, Poxwalkers, and up to. You found that piece, or is it gone?
I've got it. It's just it's really thin. I'm trying to get it off the floor. And he's back.
He's back. But yeah, up to some fetid bloat drones as well, and I think it works really well, especially on the bigger models where contrast covering a large area it's it's not the easiest thing to get to add texture when I'm not going into the level of multiple paints or any kind of fades or anything like that. I am very much doing a coat of contrast paint here and then some washes and things later. I'm not like our friend here spending hours and hours and hours on each model. I think the only times I don't use contrast, I do thin my paints, but I maybe only use 2 non-contrast paints on my models at the moment. So yeah, that's the Death Gardeners. The plan for the board is at the moment is to have as many Plague Marines as possible with an LOC at the center, who again is already pre-painted. So at the moment I can put, I think, 21 Marines down, which is a very nice nurgly number, 3 7s. I currently have 44, I believe, Plague Marines, with the plan to have a few more come along and eventually have 7 squads of 7, each with a champion with a plasma, pistol or gun, power fist, 3 bolters, 2 heavy weapons, always a plasma plus something else, sometimes double plasma, sometimes one of the other guys, all of the melee combinations, so each squad having 1 melee guy. Now, I wouldn't always run them like that. That's the fluff of how the army will be set up, giving me all of the heavy weapon options, some with multiples, all of the melee weapon options, some with multiples, and of course enough bolters to just fill out anything, and theoretically 7 champions, so up to 7 squads, but also the ability to just have, very small plasma heavy squads if I wanted. I have thought about trying to put everything on the board, but I just like the idea of placing my LOC more or less in the center of the board, and then having these 7 squads of 7 Marines kind of scattered around him. It's a 2 foot by 2 foot board, so I can fit a fair amount of models on it.
And
so that's that.
LOC being Lord of Contagion, yeah?
Yes, sorry, LOC being Lord of Contagion, which is my default warlord for playing. I love Arch Contaminator, and I love him being able to just drop in. And I think he looks very good with them as a very clear the boss. Going back to a very orky style, the biggest guy is the guy in charge. It's one of the things I'm not a mad fan of with normal Space Marines, where your captain, your guy, is basically just the same size as everybody else, or smaller sometimes if you've got Terminators and stuff.
Well, that's why for my chapter master, I've just stuck him on a taller base.
Yeah.
Paint him up, so he's just a little bit taller than
exactly.
Terminators.
I do like that for my warlord. It also makes it easy for me to find him, because they are a bit of a samey mess, because there's no, helmet coloring or pauldrons. Is it shoulder pad things?
Pauldron, yeah.
They're very much a wash of the same color scheme. Obviously, I've kept, which is also why I try to play WYSIWYG, because then when I'm looking at stuff, that's what it is. I don't have to remember who it is. That guy with the plasma is the guy with the plasma. So yeah, that's my current army that I like to play with, and that's who I am hoping to bring to Armies on Parade this year. Anything I've missed on there, or anything you want me to just cover? Like I said, that'll be around 50 models, 49, and my Lord of Contagion, who at the moment is just carrying a nice big axe, but I do have one converted to have a massive scythe. So if I get him painted and I like him, maybe I'll swap that out.
Yeah. Have you thought about, if you got 44 Marines, have you thought about having one of the units be a unit of 7 Terminators? I know you've got Terminators.
I have a unit of 7 Terminators.
Nice.
So that could work if I don't get them. Because I have thought about just trying to put everything on the board and showing my full army, or just whatever I've got painted at the time, and not having a strict scheme, more chaosy, just bring everything. It means I can throw some poxwalkers. I can throw some faded bloat drones. My 7 Terminators. I don't think I've shown them to you in person because of the COVID-19 lockdown. But they're actually 5 Terminators that I inherited already made up. So I play them as WYSIWYG. I then have a is it a Blightbringer?
Noxious Blightbringer.
I think it's a Noxious Blightbringer.
Go with the bell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a converted Noxious Blightbringer to make him into a Terminator and a LOC, another Lord of Contagion, who's been converted as well, and is played as Terminator. The Noxious Blightbringer is noticeably shorter than the others, and the LOC is noticeably bulkier than the others. He also looks like he's the mad melee champion. So in the fluff for that team, it is very much a master blaster situation where the little champ is the champion and the leader of that 7 Terminators with his enormous backup and then 5 other stooges. That's how I'll be playing them. That's how I'm trying to model and fluff them. So the weapons they've got suit the roles that they have within there. So yeah, if I get those painted up, which I'd like to for playing, perhaps 7 of them, could be nice on there. It also has a thing because it's 7 sevens. Theoretically, I'll have 7 melee guys, 7 champions. So there's lots of 7s going around. So, and of course, it doesn't have to be battle legal. So I could have, a mixture, just show 1 of each of the heavy weapons, 1 of each of the melee, 1 of each of the champions and stuff like that. But yeah, I wanted to show the slow grinding progression that is Death Guard, especially the Marines, the foot sloggers, and just showing them kind of spreading across this delicate gardenscape, in the same way that a weed or some sort of infection would. Terminators dropping in, maybe as spores being spread. I could throw that, but yeah, I wanted, and the positioning was going to be, like I say, again, spreading from the LOC as if they are almost tendrils coming out, or the scattered spawns from there. But yeah, maybe drop 7 of them in. I mean, if we're doing that, we can drop in 7 poxwalkers, 7 cultists,
7 plague burst crawlers.
Yeah.
Raiders, 7 Mortarians.
Yeah, 7 Mortarians.
I think which.
I do currently have 3 plague burst crawlers painted. Another one built and undercoated to have the flesh mower, but it's actually 2 fly mowers. And I have a 5th one sitting on the sprue to go on eBay once all this calms down. So I'm 5 of the way to 7. So it's not unplausible to just go, yeah, I'll have 7 of those guys.
So they're the 14th Legion. So at least it's slightly 70.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, what are they? Because I didn't think there were 7.
No. But yeah, that's kind of the plan is to not shy away from the slow crawling thing, but it is them invading this place. So I might possibly have some dead what did you call them? PDFs, planetary defense.
Oh, planetary defense. Yeah.
Or something. Just to further show the decay and destruction that they bring by actually showing some dead gardeners and dead chaps around and about.
Nice.
So yeah, it also gives me the real kind of loose. Oh, well, I only got 7 more done because I waddled off to do something else. Then that's the guys that go, right, my setup doesn't have to have this champion done and this guy done and that done. So yeah, I'm not constrained to have certain characters done or anything, which is nice.
Yeah, and I think it's good to plan. Like if you want to do an Armies on Parade, and I have done this for my last 2 submissions, is kind of work out what would be your perfect board, but also what you'd be comfortable with if you didn't get that all done.
Yeah,
it's just so like neither of my dwarves or tyrannids did I finish everything that I wanted to finish, but I got, I was like, what could I say get away with,
how many tyrannids was it again?
There was like 100 tyrannids, but I think it's my dwarf one. I was worried that it didn't come to like 1,000 points at one point, and I was worried that it was the first time, and I thought, would people consider this an army? And in the end, I cranked out a few more models, but I've seemed to learn that it's very generous in what sort of force you can put down anyway. Like there are basically no restrictions.
Yeah, which is one of the things I really like about it compared to some other parts of this hobby and other people in it. It does seem to be very much just come and show us your models, bro. So yeah, and that was like it was you who kind of convinced me that I should try, because you'd been and you'd seen kind of how nice and supportive the community was. And this might not be true of all communities, but it's been pretty consistent in what I've seen on on forums, on social media. The few people I've met outside of our friend group in the hobby, everybody seems genuinely kind of friendly and enthusiastic. So I'm looking forward to coming along as well. Like it'd be nice to come along and support yourself, but also just to get something on the board and get some feedback. Yeah.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Coors Light, diet beer.
Nice.
And I am working on tiny horses, which are not part of my board. They're for WQ. So if you keep seeing me looking down, it's because I'm stuffing green stuff into bum cracks to try and fix these horses into these wonderful examples. Little pack-mule guys for the adventurers. So yourself, enough about me. Who are you taking? What's the vibe and why?
So, unlike my previous armies, this army is an established one that exists in like the lore. Like, so normally I like if I was doing Space Marines, I'd do my own custom chapter. If I do my dwarves, they're a custom city.
Yeah.
These are I'm doing the Celestial Vindicators, and the Celestial Vindicators are the 6th Storm host of the Stormcast Eternals, and that the closest thing that resembles that in 40k is a chapter, or a legion, but not quite either. In that there doesn't seem to be a limit to the amount of storm hosts, and there doesn't seem to be any restriction on the size of one. They're just sort of anyway. So the Celestial Vindicators are I picked mainly because of the colours.
Yeah,
they're this turquoise and gold that's awesome. And I found posting some of the stuff I've done that a lot of the comments are just generally like about how cool Celestial Vindicators are.
Yes. So those comments you got on the Warhammer Twitch thing, the first thing the guy said is he loves this color scheme and he loves he's very complimentary about your execution of it as well, which is very nice. But I think you hit the nail on the head that these are like we all see the box art for Stormcast and it's all like the entire thing is gold, and doing non-metal metallics,
non-metallic metals,
in non-metallic metals is it's not a beginner skill. And if you just coat them in, the metallic paint guys, they don't look good. So for me, it seemed like a weird choice for one of their like starter sets, their box sets, to have these guys who are really hard to paint. They're cool, but yeah, I have a couple. I am painting them as stone because I'm not going to try and paint gold. Seems more hassle than it's worth. But anyway, sorry. Sorry, every time you say Celestials, I think about Rick and Morty.
Which bit?
The Vindicators. Whenever you say Celestial Vindicators, I think about I can't remember, was it when they go and they join that superhero team of
Vindicators?
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, Vindicators, buddy.
But their deal is they're all about vengeance.
Uh-huh.
So to become a Stormcast Eternal, you have to essentially have done something heroic or be a hero, and then Sigmar kind of yanks your soul on its way to the realm of death and steals it and turns it into a sort of immortal warrior. And all the Celestial Vindicators have to have sort of pleaded for vengeance as they die. They're the sort of people, like, basically all the Celestial Vindicators tend to be people who died fighting, and their last wish was to kill more chaos. It tends to be chaos, like they're really bitter. So it means that they're not like the most. They're somewhat honourable. They're not like there's a storm host called the Knights Excelsior, who, from what I gather, their thing is like if a city has been touched by chaos, they will burn that city to the ground and everyone in it. Like they're the scary ones. Whereas Celestial Vindicators are fine, but they're scary in battle. Like if you wanted to be an ally with them, you wouldn't want to be standing next to them when the fight starts, because they will just, see red, kill everything around them, sort of thing. So they're more likely to have like dual wielding weapons. But I'm going to do so. Storm hosts are split into chambers, which is where it starts to differentiate from Space Marines, and that there's lots of different types of chambers. And they're, as far as I can tell, for Celestial Vindicators, there are a few chambers that are named, but then, it's open as to what the other chambers are. Mm-hmm. So it's not like if I did Blood Angels and I do 6th Company, say, and 6th Company has a named captain, So I'm just doing this chamber, and I'm calling them. Working title is the War Song Chamber. So Celestial Vindicators, they do this chant, though they do war chants to keep their rage in check, like to
little calming mantras.
Yeah. And I thought I'd take that a bit further and have them like do nightly symphonies that sort of pacify them, but also echo out across the realm as a kind of warning. And one thing I do want to do is Stormcast Eternals have a character called a Knight Heraldor, who's like a character trumpet blower, like horn blower guy. And I wanted to have like 3 of them with different instruments. Like it would be, I imagine in a game that they would suck, but just have it be that they have a kind of war cacophony, and that I could eventually do a sort of Nurgle versus, because Nurgle's quite a lot about music as well. Slaanesh and Nurgle are about music. I'd quite like there to be some sort of music war where you've got like the beautiful but terrifying war fanfare of the Stormcasts, in that sort of like Mars by Holst sort of thundering kind of music, and then you've got Nurgle sloppity bile pipers and things that play like this just deep resonating brown note drone that is beautiful to Nurgle, but it's just like horrendous with their bells and all this other stuff. I'd quite like a sort of musical showdown. But yeah, so it's in
Battle of the Bands. I like it.
because they exist already.
So just before we go any further, do Beastmen have a lot of drums? I'm sure I've seen models of. I've seen something with drums.
So basically, because a lot of Age of Sigmar stuff is hangover from Warhammer Fantasy, all units in Warhammer Fantasy tended to come with a standard bearer and a musician.
Yeah.
So, like, in my dwarf army, I've got a guy with a drum, a guy with a horn. My free guild guys, there's a guy with a fucking flute. I don't know what it is. There's a guy with a drum and a guy with a flute. So there's a lot of instruments that are both left over from Fantasy and stuff that they've put in. So music's actually quite. There's a lot there to work with. Cool. I don't know about Beastmen. I don't know much about them.
I don't either. I might be recalling some like much older model where a dude like had drums, but anyway. So how does this translate to the table, to the your Armies on Parade board?
So it doesn't constrain me much. Like storm hosts are like they tend to spread out and do different things, so they could be in any of the realms that I want. And I kind of want to do either, because my board is going to be sort of Greek, slightly Greek inspired, so sort of Mediterranean flora and sort of slightly more parched earth kind of thing. Like I'm not constrained in that way. What they will have, the temple that I want to build on the board will be somewhere where they go, they kneel, and they chant, sort of thing. One thing I have been reading about, they do sort of semi-worship a sort of entity made up of 12 swords that is like the 12 dwarven swords that were gifted to Sigmar.
Sounds a bit heretical to me.
They don't do too much. There's less about heresy in Sigmar because everything's really in your face. Like Sigmar's the god that I've seen, and like everything. So it's more just
a question of faith. I've met the guy.
Yeah. But so I think in the either in the middle of this circle temple, I'll make, because I'll have a lot of spare swords. I'll make like some sort of monument of 12 swords, and I might do both even in the bigger central area where most of my models will be. I might make the floor a mosaic that has the 12, some element of that. Because it's not. I've had to sort of. I'm slowly reading books that include them, trying to glimpse every bit of fragment of lore about them. Because I think since they are an established one, I should learn as much as I can and try and make sure that everything kind of fits. So I'll try bringing that some of it in. So it'll be about the chanting, the music, this 12 sword animus thing, and when I expand a bit, I will make sure that my guys I'll have some more guys with dual weapons. They might be, I don't know if I think they'd clean their armor between battles, but like action shots of Celestial Vindicator, they tend to be like a bit blood splattered because they're crazy. But these guys are going to be it's home turf sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not just after a battle, so I might leave that. But yeah, that's the Celestial Vindicator.
Cool. I will leave it there. Very brief update on progress. So I think I've painted 3 more Marines and 1 Poxwalker this week, or since last time. Like I say, done a few of the little odds and sods, looked after children, that kind of thing. Yourself?
So I painted 2 characters, a Knight Questor and an Errant Questor, mainly because they were limited edition models that I liked rather than they fit any sort of theme. Because the Questor Knights, and they're supposed to be people who've they're not really part of a chamber. They're just given a quest, like you go kill this thing, and they go off on their own. So I painted those, and that was good. And then today, this arrived, which is the next unit. I really like the stuff that looks more like, again, Greek myths.
Yeah.
So not so much bolt crossbows, but real bows, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on now.
Cool. Right. Well, I'll talk to you next week. If I get a chance, I'm going to start work on a wall. But until the lockdown, I don't think I'm going to get a board or have something that I can use as a board. As we discussed last time, I might look at mats, but again, there's no rush on that bit. But a trial on the wall is probably a good idea. Right. Speak to you soon then, buddy.
See you in a bit.